Hello, and welcome back to my playthrough of GTNH. This week is week 8, and if you feel lost or confused, then tough luck, because so am I. After the fiasco of last time, I thought I should do good and get a little spring cleaning under my belt. So for this video, I plan on setting up the ore wall to a degree and, of course, advancing further into LV. If you remember from last week, I mentioned something about byproducts being an important feature, and I'll start the episode by explaining why that's so. Byproducts in general refer to something that is made as a secondary material while processing the original. In the real world, a byproduct that many of you personally know are actually cheese doodles. Yeah, really. Cheese doodles were originally discovered coming out of a machine made to compress cornmeal into pellets mainly used for animal feed. Sometimes this machine would miss the cornmeal and create a little puff of corn as a byproduct. Someone then, I guess, got hungry during work and tried it, and that thing ended up becoming the cheese doodle. Here in Gregatekandua Horizons, byproducts come from processing unrefined materials using LV machinery. The reason the centrifuge and, in turn, the steam separator are so important is because these two machines can create byproducts needed to further my path into LV. How it works is that different materials have a small chance to create byproducts the more you process them. Whenever you look at an ore, you'll see this chart. While this kind of looks complicated, and honestly was for me when I first started, now that I've had weeks to understand it, I can explain it to you now. Starting with either the block of ore or the raw ore it drops, you can macerate it to double the ore you receive. Then you can wash the crushed ores, then macerate it again to get pure dust. The key part is that each step has a small chance to produce the byproduct. For what I need this week, the byproduct required is a bunch of nickel. And while I looked through the ways of producing it, I believe the best option is yellow limonite, which comes from iron veins and has a 3-step tree, all giving nickel as a byproduct. I won't need that much for what I need today, so simply macerating it and centrifuging it should give the amount I need. I gather around 1600 crushed limonite, which should result in 160 nickel after processing it all. Why is it only 10%? Because I guess you only get the byproducts from maceration when using LV machines and above. So I only received the nickel from the last step of centrifuging it. If I knew about this, I could have updated from 168 to 522, but it's still more than enough for what I need. The other goal, besides the ore wall this week, is a big step in LV. One of the first quests I saw when starting LV is getting aluminum. It's literally labeled as getting prepped for MV, and now that I've fully stepped into LV, I can see why. Aluminum can only be made in something called an electric blast furnace, or an EBF as I'll refer to it now, which is a multi-block made mostly of materials like Invar, which is an alloy of iron and nickel. Before that though, I need more machines. First, I want to fix that liquid rubber problem I had in the last episode. The solution is a fluid solidifier to extrude them through plate form and give back physical rubber sheets to wrap wires with. Great. Now that I have like 9 stacks of rubber sheets, I can move on to other things. Or not. Really quickly, one of the machines I made last week but didn't showcase was an LV furnace. I just made it because I assumed it was better than the high pressure furnace, but let's find out by just how much. The high pressure furnace cooks an item in 6.4 seconds using 320 liters of steam, or 2048 steam per item. The LV furnace matches the speed at 6.4 items a second, but uses EU instead of steam. I currently get EU from the basic steam turbine, which converts 2 steam into 1 EU. The LV furnace uses 80 EU per second, or 512 EU per item. Converting that total back to steam reveals that the steam furnace is twice as fuel efficient as the high pressure furnace. As a heads up, I won't say when I'm making the LV versions of my other steam machines, but I'll make them when I can because they're not exactly new, but they're of course still helpful. Okay, back to machines. There's two more that I need to make for the EBF. The first being the mixer. The mixer is literally just the automatic version of mixing dust in a crafting table, but because it's precise and mathematically proficient, it can mix Invar, which I, as a mere human, simply am incapable of mixing together with my flesh and bone digits. Despite it being a 36 to 64% mixture of nickel and iron, respectively, heated to 449 degrees Fahrenheit and cooled slowly. Anyway, in the real world, you make Invar by combining 1 nickel dust with 2 iron dust to make 3 Invar, and you can smelt it into bars in a normal furnace. Using 10 Invar bars, you can make a heat-proof casing, and I'll need 11 of these to make my EBF. Before continuing to the other parts needed, we gotta talk about my storage. Currently, I use 2x2 drawers for the mining materials and better barrels for the bulk storage. I'd like to upgrade my storage after learning every ore I've mined now has multiple byproducts I have to account for. Plus, I want to swap my 2x2 drawers for their frame versions as well as the better barrels too for aesthetics. The reason for changing to frame drawers is because I can decorate the blocks to my liking using the framing table, just like the Architect's Branch and the Microblocks mod. The frame drawers takes on the texture of the inputted block and works on pretty much everything. There's 3 inputs you can add that affect different things, like the color of the drawers themselves, the side panels, and the edge of the drawer too. I'll mess around and find something I like, but I also wanted to upgrade the drawers as well. The highest tier I can make within a reasonable amount of time is tier 4s, which multiply the base storage value by 8 times the original. Problem is, I can make 5 of them given the materials on hand, and unfortunately I am exactly 1 short on obsidian to make them all. Now I could just go and grab one from the mines really quickly, but instead of that, let's be productive and make an entire new machine to solve the problem as well as a few others. The Rock Breaker is another LV machine that can produce various rocks depending on the liquids adjacent to the machine. With lava on top and water on the side, it can make smooth stone, so I can get infinite stone and cobblestone respectively. But if I throw in some redstone inside the machine, it'll convert that redstone directly into a block of obsidian. So, given my now abundant levels of redstone dust, I can make an equal amount of obsidian with little to no effort. That solved my current problem, so let me make them and I'll show you my decision on what blocks I use for the drawers. The semi-final design is smooth stone for the drawer, factory block wireframes for the sides, and factory block circuits for the corners. The neat thing about the drawers is that the corners only take the very edge of the block you input, so despite the block being very clearly not made of gold, it still gives a gold edging to the drawers, which is pretty cool. I make a whole bunch because the assembler makes it cheaper than ever and basically double the size of the ore wall to store any other materials I come across. On the front side, I store all of the ores and repair materials I use on a frequent basis. On the right, I'll store all the nether materials, and I can expand it further if I need more storage for more dimensions. And on the back side, I'll store all the wood and the mob drops, both hostile and passive. As a little side tangent, I added something called rough brownstone to my floors in place of my old walkways. I got it as a random reward from a loot bag I earned after making the LV mixer. It says in the tooltip, you can run a bit faster on it. So I thought that I should test it, and yeah, you do move mildly quicker while running on it. Then the next logical thought I had is, can I upgrade it? And again, the answer is yes, I can. I can immediately chisel the rough brownstone into brownstone road and move even faster. How much faster? This much faster. It's actually a considerable boost in speed, so how do I make more of this stuff? Well, I just need to pour a bar of tin over some gravel in the Tinkerer's Construct smeltery, and I'll get some. In fact, I'm actually late to the party, so with the assembler, I can make compressed gravel and do it the same, making 9 brownstone per tin bar, which is pretty damn good. On top of that, it seems the hitbox to give the speed boost reaches above the block by a good margin, so I can actually cover it with something and still get the effect. I'm liking how everything is coming together, but for now I should continue my journey by making that EBF. The other half required to make the EBF is the coils in between the layers of heat-proof casings. These are called cupronickel coil blocks. Cupronickel coil blocks. You know, saying it out loud is actually kind of fun. It's a silly word. Anyway, these cupronickel coil blocks are made of cupronickel, which is an alloy you could probably guess how it's made simply by the spelling of it. If you can't, don't worry, because this isn't a test. It's just copper and nickel. But what's the ratio? No, I don't know either. I'm just messing with you. The cupronickel is actually really easy to get. It just takes a bit of time to alloy it together, and I've got enough for all 16 coil blocks that I need. The problem is actually in the other materials needed to hold it together. Aluminosilicate wool. Despite needing 8 bars of cupronickel per coil block, I need 12 of the ass wool in turn. How do you get it? Well, it's easy. You just need some ruby dust and silicone dioxide. So I need to figure out how to get that because it sounds really complicated and it's just flint dust thrown in a centrifuge. I can get it by macerating 2 stacks of flint, and luckily I also have 4 stacks of ruby dust from my trip to the redstone mine. So I just need to throw them in the alloy smelter and oh my god, this is going to take forever. Okay, so while this takes its sweet ass time cooking, let's focus on the other things. I still need a bunch of input and output blocks, plus the controller blocks themselves. The new thing here is the 2 LV energy hatches needed to power the EBF. These require the usual bits of machinery, but also need 2 cells of lubricant. From what I see, the best way to make it is through a distillery. It's another machine that takes glue or other materials and can further distill it into stuff like refined glue. Anyway, I can directly convert 25 milliliters of creosote into 8 milliliters of lubricant. So now that I have the final piece, it's time to make the jump. Now that it's done, I decide to upgrade my main steam line by switching to huge steam pipes, and I take some steam turbines not in use and hook them up to the EBF directly. Voila! Now it works just fine. Okay, it power failed. Why? I made this because I was told it could remelt steel dust, but it's not working. Why? I see. It needs 120 EU per tick, which is 4 turbines worth, not 2. Sadly, learning to make use of this is going to be something for next time, for I have run out of time today. If you enjoyed today's episode, then feel free to like the video and subscribe if you want to be reminded to come back next week. If I missed something, you want to give me some tips or even just say hi, feel free to leave a comment below. As always, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Goodbye.